Traveling with your dog can be extremely overwhelming. What to pack, what to do in case of an emergency, and what rules to follow. Today I'm going to talk about it. My name is Katja, this is Kovu, and we traveled in more than 13 European countries together. Today I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons about turning your dog into your travel partner. I'm gonna start off by being brutally honest with you. Traveling is not for every single dog, and that's exactly why I only bring one of my dogs. My older dog simply wouldn't enjoy it, so I leave her home in safe surroundings. If you are in doubt whether your dog will enjoy traveling or not, I recommend taking a shorter trip to start with. So let's talk about rules, because that's probably the main reason people don't want to bring their dogs. It's really hard to figure out all the rules, and the more countries you visit, the more rules you have to know about. Be aware that this video is about traveling by car. If you want to fly with your dog, there are other rules, and it's a whole other process that I'm not going to go through here. I am not going to list all the specific rules for all the countries, but what I usually do is that I call my vet, ask for the rules for this specific country, and then I check the official websites. The most important thing to have in order is the vaccinations, otherwise you will probably be rejected at the border. Typical rules in EU countries are a European pet passport, rabies vaccination, and a microchip. But as I said before, that can change from country to country, so check the specific rules for the specific country you want to visit. I absolutely don't recommend just going and hoping for the best. That can end up in quarantine and or fines. Be aware that there are certain other rules you sometimes have to follow. So in a country like Sweden, you have to register if you bring your dog into the country. A country like Norway, your dog have to be treated for tapeworms before entering the country. So have in mind that there are other rules than just the vaccinations. So that's basically what you have to figure out before leaving. Figure out all of the specific requirements for the countries you want to visit, and when that is checked off, you are basically ready to go. And even though it sounds a bit complicated, it's not that bad. You just have to make sure that the rules are followed before you leave, but the preparation part is always the worst. In the caption, I'm going to list all of the countries we visited that was really pet friendly, but be aware that if you move yourself outside the EU countries, that's sometimes going to be a little bit different. I've visited some countries that wasn't really pet friendly because the whole culture is seeing dogs different than we do. No matter how pet friendly the country I'm visiting is, I'm always asking hotels and restaurants and stuff like that if my dog is allowed. Usually they write it on their website, but if they don't, I always ask just to make sure. So when you're traveling, the two most important rules to know about is laws about the leash and muzzle. That is changing a lot from area to area, even within the countries. So just stay aware of the signs and ask some of the people you meet if you are in doubt. Some countries are having specific areas for dogs, so dog beaches and stuff where you can let your dog off leash. Otherwise, a leash is typically required. A muzzle is typically needed in public transport, and that goes for cable cars as well. So always bring a muzzle, even though you don't need it, then you have it if it's required. And make sure to muzzle train your dog from home. I really don't recommend traveling with a dog that isn't overall fit and healthy. Other countries are having different bacteria and parasites, meaning that it can turn into a challenge if your dog isn't healthy. If you're in doubt, go for a consult with your vet. They will make an overall examination and make sure your dog is ready for traveling. I'm usually not treating against ticks and fleas, but when I travel in the warmer regions, my dog is always wearing a Seresto collar due to sandflies. Accidents can happen everywhere, but it's no fun if it happens on a hike in the middle of nowhere. So I always make sure to bring a first aid bag, and then I make sure that I know where the nearest vet is located. I also do daily health checkups, so I make sure that my dog didn't get any insect bites or anything that could turn into a problem later. When it comes to safety, I do act a bit more cautious when I'm traveling. And before I go, I always make sure that my insurance is covering other countries as well. My dog is wearing shoes for safety when we're out hiking, and that's because even a small slit in the paw can actually take a very long time to heal. He is placed in a larger solid crate in the car because I want him to be able to sleep while we're driving. He needs a lot of rest and sleep, so it's a huge benefit that he can sleep while we're driving so we can go explore when we arrive. To make sure he's getting enough rest, I am using a tracker to track his overall activity levels and see how much he is sleeping during the trip. It's not that bad if you are leaving for half a week or so, but last time I was traveling for a month, so it's really essential that he gets enough sleep. And of course, it's also a benefit that the tracker is having a GPS, so in case he disappears, I will know where he is. When I travel with my dog, I always make sure to have a lot of flexibility so I can put in a few rest days if needed. If you travel with your dog for the first time, I really recommend that you don't fill up your days with activities. Traveling with a dog means slower pace, especially if you travel to a location with a lot of impressions and if your dog isn't really used to travel. When it comes to packing, I try to pack light as possible. I'll write my packing list in the caption, but the papers are the most important thing that can't be replaced. I always make sure to have a backup online as well. Most of the other things can be bought when we're on the go, in case anything is missing. So my whole conclusion is, yes, it is more complicated to travel with a dog, but absolutely worth it in my case. So to break it down, check all the rules, make sure they're followed, and then take it 1 hour at a time. I know it can sound a little bit overwhelming, but it's really not that bad. And when you're on the go, just enjoy it and remember to not overthink every single situation. That was it for today. If you have any further questions about traveling with your dog, don't hesitate to ask questions in the comment section.